All right, many thanks, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, for that background report. And joining us for the conversation on agricultural extension and food security is Professor Garba Hamidu Sharbutu, the Executive Secretary, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. A pleasure to welcome you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and also joining us from our Ibadan studio is Professor Mohammed Kuta Yahya, a professor of agricultural and rural development at the University of Ibadan, who is also Secretary, Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms. A pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm pleased to be here with you. Thank you.
All right. Also joining us for the conversation about in our cartoonist today is Professor Ike Emmanuel, the immediate past Executive Director of NEROS, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Good to have you, Prof.
For having me. I'm grateful.
Let's begin from here in the studio. Professor Sharbutu, perhaps it will be fair to say we have an idea of the state of agricultural extension in Nigeria as we speak.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. As far as agricultural extension is concerned in this country, it has created a lot of worries in the minds of both the government as well as the farmers. This is because we have always underestimated the extent to which extension agriculture can go in driving food security. And so a lot of experimentation, I call it experimentation because it's more of a trial and error. We bring in this program, and then at the end of it, we find out that the program does not work. So today, I can tell you everybody in the agricultural sector is disturbed, the government is disturbed, and so there is now an attempt by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to bring in virtually everybody on board as much as possible that will be able to take research findings and innovations from the various agricultural research institutes to the doorstep of the farmer. Because that is where the link is. Of course, the Nigerian agricultural system and the research system in particular have been able to come up with a lot of innovations, but these innovations trickled only into the hands of the farmers. And then, of course, the farmers are also yielding, seriously calling for an exposition of what they need to do in order to make sure that they produce. And where the link is really telling on us is the fact that commercial farmers always go out to the farm and lose because a good extension procedure has not been put in place.
Okay.
But today, I can tell you that we are well armed, and you can see that even the office of the First Lady now is beginning to say we have a renewed hope, home garden or home garden grown initiative.
But if you say we are well armed,
Yes.
how effective has it been in terms of bridging the gap between research and the farmers?
Well, we were at the level of trying to estimate the number of farmers or the number of extension workers per farmer. But today there is an introduction of the National Electronic Extension Platform. Now, this National Electronic Extension Platform is a platform that is going to reduce the physical contact, to reduce the barrier between the innovation centers and the farmers. And maybe when we get along, we'll be able to expose what this platform is.
All
and
right.
That is what we mean by saying we are getting ready.
All right. Many thanks, Professor Sharbutu, for your opening comments. I'd like to get to Professor Yahaya, and I would really want us to begin, from the very beginning, as they say, because someone may be watching this program, a farmer may be watching, and may not even know what agricultural extension means. I mean, what does it entail? Professor Sharbutu has tried to tell us, where we used to be, where we're headed and all of that. But just break all of this down. When you say Agric extension, what does it mean? And, what is Nigeria's standing as far as agricultural extension is concerned? Professor Yahaya.
Thank you very much, and glad to have this opportunity and to commend NTA for taking the front seat in terms of giving the extension prominence in terms of conversation on how to address food security. Extension, as you all know, is the process of a trained professional who is armed with information to act as a link between research and end users of research findings. They are trained professionally to empathize with the farmers who are the end users. They are trained to be able to communicate in the language that the farmers will be able to understand and interpret and take action accordingly. They are professionally trained in terms of sociological, in terms of psychological, in terms of, having the feel of what the farmers feel. They don't look down on the farmers. They are also trained to bring back to research findings that are peculiar to the circumstances of the end users who are farmers, to research so that research can find solutions to their problems. In the process, we have had historical background of many interventions in the Nigerian agricultural system as far back as the colonial era, in terms of when the first botanical garden in Ibadan, which later became the foundation of what we now call Federal Ministry of Agriculture in 1894. They were armed with activities that engender research and also transfer of technology to end users and farmers. So extension is as old as Nigeria. But over the years, it was amplified by the World Bank. And kudos to the World Bank for initiating the agricultural development programs, because hitherto you have Operation Feed the Nation, you have Green Revolution, you have all those programs. But the one that situated agricultural development intervention in Nigeria was the ADP system, where you have what we call training and visit system that was adopted as a methodology, whereby extension agents will go on visitation and train farmers and therefore transfer technologies to them. And if there are new technologies, they do what we call seeing is believing, by having plots for demonstration plots where they will apply the new technologies for farmer to see. And then they will also have a side-by-side of it, technology that are additional to the farmers. Because the fusion of innovation is a very difficult, complex situation. In the fusion of innovations, it's categorized, and you should appreciate that. And that is why some of us in extension profession, we are very, very uncomfortable. We are charlatans, and people who are not professionally defined do extension work. They don't understand the concept. They don't understand the nitty-gritties. And that is the foundation. For instance, in the fusion of innovations, you must understand that there are innovators. There are many people, when you introduce new idea to them, they proceed to adopt it. They don't waste time. We call them innovators. There are those we call early adopters, who will wait and process, ask questions before they adopt. We call them early majority. There are those who will stay in between and wait to see whether if it will work or not work. We call them the late majority. Then there are those people, no matter whatever you tell them, they will never believe you. They will still stick to their own traditional practices. We call them laggards. Therefore, if you are not trained as an extension professional to do extension work, either administratively or in the discharge of extension work, and you don't understand all these things, it becomes a problem. And that is why in the whole circuit of agriculture, in the entire ecosystem, you discover that there are people dealing with crops, there are people dealing with animals, there are people dealing with fisheries, there are even people dealing with agroforestry or silviculture, or all the practices that are encompassing in agriculture as an entire system. It is only the extensionists that are trained to have the basic and rudimentary knowledge of all these things in the interest of survival of the agricultural system. So therefore, we see that over the years, the success of the ADPs was based on professionalizing extension in terms of training, in terms of logistics support. Extension workers were designed in such a way that from the top management to zonal level, to village level, to block level and village level of extension delivery. And it was effective. They were provided with vehicles, they were provided with motorcycles, but immediately World Bank ended its program, ADP collapsed. Many of the ADP structures were no longer available. In those years, you have tractor hiring centers, you have information centers. Farmers were provided with very potent seeds. They were supported on how to apply agrochemicals. And in the process, we had bumper harvest yield, and I can tell you confidently that the issue of food security was at its toppest level in Nigeria at that moment. Unfortunately, we have a window of opportunity that was blown away when President Muhammad Buhari insisted that Nigeria must not import what we produce. Nigerians must consume what we produce. And therefore, the cliché that, or the phrase that produce what we eat what we produce, was very significant for our success story. Unfortunately, the sustenance is a big question. Nigeria has become a dumping ground for even food products that we could produce. Massive smuggling and importation has affected our local producers, and 75 to 80% of the food we consume in Nigeria is in the hands of small-scale farmers. So I welcome any technology or any innovation as an extensionist, but let's tarry and make sure we do not jettison the traditional practices that still worked for us and still gave us success stories. Because right now, yes, you will say technology. Why do you power those technologies? In terms of light, in terms of accessibility, because it's not the issue of technology transfer. I mean, technology adoption, but how can it be adaptable to the 75 to 80% of small-scale farmers who are yearning for fertilizer, who are looking for agrochemicals and are no longer available? We know that some of the policies, we're a country, and that is why sometimes I like to give example of the former governor of Niger State. He is expanding the frontiers in terms of mechanization for agriculture, in terms of, giving farmers the support, giving outgrowers so that they can participate in every agricultural enterprise that is going on, including young school leavers. So I believe the future of extension lies in bringing professionals to rekindle the hope that we need extension. It's not about the policy. We have the first faculty of agriculture in Nigeria, in the University of Ibadan. We have the first Department of Agriculture Extension over 50 years ago in the University of Ibadan. So therefore, even if you want to put people into extension, you can bring it, we can train them, and they will be prepared to do extension work. But not that you go and recruit people who don't have the basic knowledge, who don't have the empathy, who don't have the clear understanding of what it takes to do extension work, to say they're extension professionals. It's unacceptable. And the scope has now widened because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has added additional value to the Nigerian agricultural system with the expansion of frontiers in the livestock sector. The livestock sector in Nigeria was a sleeping giant. But by the time some of us, myself and Professor Atari Jega, who are the members of the Presidential Livestock Committee, joined Mr. President to Brazil at June 20. We had the opportunity of visiting JBS farm and other successful stories in Sao Paulo. And we were blown away because we could see the fact that in animal agriculture, a firm was making $79 billion of export of meat to other countries in the world, including the United States of America, including China, Japan, and they cannot meet up. But the good news is that Mr. President has invited them to Nigeria. I'm privileged to be part of those who witnessed the visit of the technical team in December, and the chief executives and the investors that came just last month. So it is a privilege to note that Mr. President has really engineered a new process. With those people bringing $2.5 billion to inject in the livestock sector, it's going to be the game changer.
All right, Professor Kuta, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your intervention. We will get into all of those by the time we return to you. Let me quickly get to Professor Emmanuel. Prof, I was going to say, you know, Professor Kuta has raised a lot of issues, but I was going to say a lot of our farmers in rural communities still rely on the, you know, old methods of agriculture. I was going to ask how, you know, agricultural extension can get them to adopt modern agricultural techniques at this point. But then, with the issues raised by Professor Kuta, I wonder what exactly are the issues with agricultural extension and how can they be resolved?
Thank you very much for that very fine question. The issues of agricultural extension, let me say this, is you cannot transit from crude farming to commercial agriculture to scientific agriculture without extension. It is not possible. So because extension is the game changer, this I need to say. The next thing I want to let you know is that for any nation, except the agri sector is fixed, whatever thing we are fixing remain unfixed. Because agriculture, matters of agriculture are matters of life. A nation is what the citizens eat. And a hungry citizen of any nation cannot develop any nation. So going back to the question I asked, how do you get the farmers to adopt the technologies that are available? Let me say this. Technologies are products of research. And so the role of extension is to be sure that the findings from the research institute are developed into a knowledge product that the farmers can understand, the farmers can practice, the farmer can use, and can teach. And so that's the role of extension. It's just like the national grid. If you are familiar with the value chain, power that is generated at the national grid is not useful to anybody, and until it passes through transmission. The word transmission is that it goes through transformers until it's brought back to a point where the end user can now plug his phone, can plug his. That is how it works. So the finding from our research institutes are not useful to the farmers until it passes through extension, where it is repackaged, it is rebranded to the form even the grammar can understand and use. Having said this, now for a technology to be adopted by the farmers, it must be appropriate. It must be relevant. It must be useful. The farmer should be able to know that product, that technology is better than what he used to know. And I want to say this, that a good product sells itself. A good market sells itself. And so we were lucky to have about 18 agricultural research institutes in the country. We have been accused of technologies being on shelf. So how do you move this product from the shelf to the farmer? And that is the place of extension. I'm happy what Professor Kuta told about is that extension has been neglected immediately the World Bank funding ended in the 90s, the mid-90s. And the agriculture is on concurrent list. Extension actually is done at the state because the extension structure is in the state, the ADPs, like Prof just said. And so the state must wake up and pay attention to extension because you cannot transform agriculture without extension. That's the truth of the matter. Now, luckily for us, we now have the local government funding that has improved by the present administration, and it's a good development. So because the land are in the local government, the farmers are also in the local government. So we need to wake up and to know that this is an issue we cannot pay lip service to, because we do that at our peril. We must pay attention to it because food is what a nation must fix before going forward in all other development. So how do we do it? It's very simple. We must make sure that our research are demand-driven. And when the product comes out, it is relevant to the field. And to add to what you need to know, the present actors of the field need a lot of replacement. They are becoming aged. They are mostly uninformed about the modern techniques of doing agriculture. And so what we need to do is, because if you look at the determinants of adoption, education, level of education is number one. Because someone that's educated has this gift of quickly understanding and appreciating changes. Because extension is a change. It's about change of behavior of the person that's supposed to handle the technology. And for that to happen, education is relevant. So we need to begin to look at the way we can attract our youth, particularly those of them with the knowledge in agriculture, to begin to look towards agricultural production. But that can't happen until we do something about the drudgery system on our farm. I have said it. We did a survey in my institute and discovered between 75 to 80% of Nigerian farmers are using cutlass and hoes. And there's no way we can be doing cutlass and hoes and you think youth will come into it. So what is the recommendation? Let's go into reducing and depopulate cutlass and hoe with relevant simple labor-saving devices that will take away drudgery from the farm. The second one is that we should make agriculture not to look at it as a stigma to go into it. Let us make it lucrative. Let it make in other countries, agriculturists are the best, the rich guys in the country. And let me say this: our agri sector is a gold mine waiting to happen. Let me also add to you that the title, Giant of Africa, was not given to Nigeria by petroleum. It was given to Nigeria by agriculture. When you have the pyramid, when you have the cocoa and everything, so we have to go back to where we took off as the Giant of Africa, and that is agriculture. It is the mainstay of our economy even up to today. We should not be deceived. So we have to make our research relevant by funding it, making sure that the output of research are relevant to the field, and that can only happen when we do it demand-driven. And by the time the product comes out, the farmers can pick it, can use it, can practice it, can teach it, and the country is good to go. That is what I want to say. Thank you.
Professor Ikane Emmanuel, for your thoughts there. We'll get back to you in our Kaduna studio to hear some of your opinions about the issues of as agricultural extension is concerned. But let's get back here in the studio. Professor Sharabutu, you listened to two professors joining us from Kaduna and Ibadan, and it's clear that like they have said, without agricultural extension we cannot have a viable agricultural sector in the country. But they also say that research is the focus for agricultural extension, for it to actually have impact in the agricultural sector. Now, my question is, research itself, I mean, let's look at other sectors. If you look at health, for example, if you look at science and technology, what is failing is research. How can we really get it right in terms of this research? Is it just about saying, oh, we need agricultural extension services? Getting it right in terms of research, such that we get what is, we're not importing. I mean, we're not importing things out from outside the country. We are developing homegrown solutions to our problems in this country. Do you think that we have the capacity?
Well, thank you very much. If I understand, the discussion very well. We are talking about an item that has components. For you to take innovation from the research institute to the farmer, it involves a lot of processes, because innovation in itself is one package. Then the information to be taken from that center to the farmer is another package. And what do I mean by package of information? Is because it is not about the innovation alone. It also has to do with other vital ingredients and factors that will make sure that this farming works. If you do not understand the weather system, if you don't understand the soil system, If you don't even understand the community you are taking this innovation to, extension fails. There is no amount of innovation you are going to take to the farmers or you can produce without this component that you'll be able to have food sufficiency or the farmers going. Like, for example, if the person is not interested, you have to get him interested. Because these are all principles of agricultural extension. He has to be interested. The age must be right. His learning experience must be there. And then his ability to adopt based on that knowledge is also important. So I cannot, for example, develop a tomato variety and just take it from one point and give it to the farmer for him to be able to develop. No, it won't work. Because he needs all these ingredients put together to say, who is the person I'm taking this technology to? Is he interested really? What is the weather reading like? So for us in agricultural research in this country, I think we are ever ready, and a lot of innovations have been brought in. Now let me tell you, for the purpose of information, for example, where Professor Ikani just left, that is the National Agricultural Extension and Research and Liaison Services. Every year they have vital information about the rainy season and the dry season, to put it mildly. Now, these are the information that are needed, one, to develop a policy, because you can't run away. There must be a policy of government to say this. All these issues of ADP, training and vision, all are packaged into the policy of the government. So, based on the information that they have brought, including prices, marketing system, these are all information that are needed to boost production. But for our agricultural research system, there is no agricultural research institute here that does not boost or proud itself of bringing in innovations.
So where's the problem? Why are we still struggling with food sufficiency? If you say the research institutes are functioning optimally.
Yes. Now, you see, like I said, if you go to, for example, National Cereals Research Institute, you find out that they have over 75 varieties of rice. And they did this research in order to address the various parts of this country, weather condition, disease condition, and of course, the rainy season, the flood system. If you go to Naihot in Ibadan, there are various varieties of tomato that they have produced. Now, where the problem lies, as is being emphasized, is our ability to harness information about that crop and hand it over to the farmer for the farmer to be able to utilize that.
Is it the problem of the government or the problem of the farmers?
No, it's multifaceted. Extension is not just about government. Extension is about the individual. I've told you, even the individual. Yakuta mentioned it. He said, your even ability to adopt that new product that is given to you also matters. He said, we have the laggards. These are people that cannot be changed. You have the early majority. You have the late majority. You have the innovators. These are all categories. So it is not just about government. While government is doing its own thing, there is a need also for the farmer to also get ready and get interested in what is happening. Now remember that these farmers are being diverted by so many things. During political era, once the money is flowing, I don't see you bringing in farmers to the farm. During rainy season, during disease, during security, these are all factors that put together and discourage farmers from going to farm. So it is not just about government, it is also about the individuals. Again, what is also being emphasized is the character and nature of the people that actually take this information. For example, if I register as an extension specialist, for example, am I really interested in that work? Or do I see it just as an avenue to make money? So you find out that we have 16 agricultural research institutes in this country, including NCAM, that is for mechanization. But we also have, in addition to the universities, we also have colleges, federal colleges of agriculture. And their responsibility is to train middle-level manpower. But that does not stop there. It doesn't stop there because the mere fact that you have a degree in extension does not mean that you are an extension specialist. So what do we do? Let me finish. What do we do? We are saying that there must be a specialist training for all those that we claim are agriculturalists to go into extension. Now, if, for example, I say this times without number, for you to get a competent veterinary doctor, you need to go into internship. For you to get a medical personnel, you go to internship. For pharmacists, they need internship. Do we have this type of facility to train extension workers? To move them from mere certificate to the actual practitioners of extension. Irrespective of the university you graduate from, whether you are the first, the last, irrespective of the Federal College of Agriculture you graduate from, what we need there is an extra training, similar to what is happening in other professions, so that the person you are bringing in now understands truly what his responsibility is. And by so doing, you don't just go and get anybody and say, come and train in extension. The interest must be there. Now, if he has the interest, you package those that are interested in extension work together, put them under that tutelage of internship, and believe you me sincerely, by the time you do that, the farmers will be able to get what is needed, you know, from the research.
So, Prof, are you saying there's something wrong with the curriculum of agricultural extension in
Not
the
the
country?
curriculum.
Because if agricultural extension is a 5-year program in universities.
Yes.
Now, if you're asking for an addition, you know, to that program, so are you saying that the present curriculum at the moment, you know, does not meet present-day reality?
You see, it's not about curriculum. You have the teaching knowledge. You have the certificate. But I have compared extension and agriculture in general to what is happening to other professional bodies. The curriculum of medicine is not deficient just because you have a teaching hospital that the person is...
So how then do we develop interest? Because in the first place, you know that those who even study agriculture, I mean, just very few students apply for agriculture, you know, into universities. Yes. Most of them are pushed there maybe because they didn't meet the cutoff for one course or the other. How then do you develop that interest on the part of the agricultural extension workers and also on the part of farmers? Because you have said interest is the, you know, is the key thing here to get success in this field. How do we develop that interest?
You see, interestingly, all of us here belongs to one university or the other. I'm telling you that the interest in agriculture is beginning to change. Because I can tell you, for example, with the 52 colleges of agriculture we have in this country, there's no college of agriculture that does not produce a minimum of 200 students in agriculture. Now, talk about the universities. They are no more running, looking for students the way you see. So there are people, but you need to bring up interest. And the interest here is this. Have we ever thought of a policy where we said, okay, let our graduates be encouraged? Instead of, for example, the Anchor Borrowers Program, throwing money to political supporters. Have we ever thought about a policy that would say each university should be able to present the best social number of students, and we use this Anchor Borrowers money in order to encourage them to go into agriculture? Have we done that? If we do that, I can tell you, quite possibly, you will find some people that are ready to take that up. And that is exactly what other states are doing. Like the Niger State here, cited example. I know during in Ekiti State, for example, I know that was being done. But rather than just giving money to everybody, why don't we center on those that have read agriculture, graduates of agriculture? Because one, they have the rudimentary knowledge. It will not take too much of agricultural extension to actually convince them or to actually tell them what is there. But the capital needs to be there. You cannot read agriculture and then come out and begin to drive kabu on the street and you say that you're going to encourage people. Now, if we have Anchor Borrowers Program, if we have a specialist program, farmer money, or farmer this, these are the people we should concentrate on and try to give them all those encouragement for them to be able to go into agriculture. All right.
Professor Sharubutu, thank you very much. Well, you're advocating, in other words, a bridge between the academia and then, you know, to be able to make the most of extension. Let me take that short trip to Ibadan, where I need to engage with Professor Kutayahaya. Prof, I don't know how much you agree with Professor Sharubutu, but I'm beginning to wonder at what point does research, Professor Sharubutu's office and the former office of Professor Emmanuel, what is the meeting point, and why do you think there is a need for an additional internship, for instance? That's how he's put it, internship, to make the most of agricultural extension.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy that Professor Sharubutu is a product of the University of Ibadan, and I'm disappointed that he doesn't even understand that even in the Faculty of Agriculture, I'm not talking about vet medicine, he's a veterinarian, Many people, even in the Faculty of Agriculture, do not understand the word extension. I'm telling you in confidence. So I'm not going to blame him, because the kind, as you said, as my sister said, you cannot go through a 5-year program, including a practical year, including a social laboratory. I don't know of other universities, but I know of the University of Ibadan, we have a social laboratory where our students interact in the rural setting of Ilebo and other farm sites, relating with farmers and practicing what extension is before they graduate. And I can tell you confidently, the entrepreneurial spirit in agriculture has done a lot. Most of our students, before graduating, they are into one trade or the other, that even if you give some of them white-collar job today, they won't take it. Many of our students, I have bought chicken for Salah on the university farm from my students, who will go and nurture animals and sell and make money. There are many of them into fisheries production, and they are doing excellently well. So therefore, if you want to talk about extension, let professionals talk. You cannot question the rudiment and the fundamental training that the extensions have received in Nigeria. We are all product of extension, and we are proud to go to anywhere and stand, and many of our students are doing that. If you tell me, Professor Rubutu, that the EACN, the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, that was fashioned after Brasilia in Embrapa, did not live up to expectation because of bureaucratization, I will understand. We interacted with Embrapa in Brazil, and Embrapa today is the driver of agricultural revolution in Brazil, based on research, based on addressing issues, and they are practical. But a situation whereby you have agricultural extension research liaison services, you have ARCN that is being bureaucratized, and you and I know the challenges of bureaucracy. You and I know that you cannot say it loud because you are a threat, or your position is under threat. But if we allow independence for people to do their job professionally, it's not going to be the same. You want to tell me that the funding available to research institutes is adequate? I can give you a very good example. When I addressed the COS 39 as a lead speaker at the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, which was on agriculture and allied industries development in Nigeria, one of the research findings I did was that VOM that was sitting along very close neighbor, national.
Many thanks, Professor Yahaya. Because of time, really, we need to, move quickly and get to Kaduna, where Professor Ikani Emmanuel, is sitting and waiting to respond to some of the comments that have been made already. Professor Emmanuel, I'm sure you want to respond to some of the comments, already made by Professor Sharabutu right here, and of course, if you like, the clap back by Professor Yahaya. I want to hear your thoughts about it. And then Professor Yahaya says that, the Faculty of Agricultural, or rather, Faculty of Agriculture, with Department in Agricultural Extension, is doing the needful. I mean, we have students who are graduating who have the capacity to, of course, do well in this sector. Then why then are we still suffering with food insecurity? Is it about just graduating, rearing beds and, feeding 10, 20 people? I mean, is that the way forward? We're looking at a situation where there's sufficiency in the country and we can export as much as possible and, of course, improve our foreign exchange earnings. Speak to us, Professor Ikani.
Thank you for that question again. Last year I was in Lagos. A lady came and asked me, he said, Professor Ikani, you are a professor of agriculture. Why is Nigeria hungry? And that's the same question we're asking. Why is there food insecurity? Let me tell you this. There are what we call enablers. that make agricultural production work in any country. One of them is seed. The seed system in Nigeria cannot support modern agriculture. 2, this matter of doing agriculture rainy season, cropping season, there's nothing like cropping season anywhere in the world where agriculture is done, seriously. Because all seasons are supposed to be cropping season. After rainy season, if you want to do agriculture during dry season, you take the water to the plant. 2, I've told you about drudgery, that we are still using cutlass and hoes. We need to change from that. 3, research and development is what we have discussed, and for extension to work so that our field, why the problem I think is that the actors on our field are not able to utilize modern technology. The reason is very simple. Agriculture is scientific. It's supposed to be handled by experts and people with skills. And so if you want to do modern agriculture, it's not an all-commerce job. Nigeria has no business having 75% of our adult labor force on the farm. In the US, less than 4%. And that's the sign that we're not doing it right. And so how do you get out of food insecurity? These enablers must be paid attention to. The food system, the seed system, seed is not just the root of agriculture, it's the taproot. And our seed system is still wrong in the country. And the seed, I want to suggest, must be handled by the private sector, because seed system is a serious system, can't be handled by government alone. Now, the issue of the value chain approach that came to Nigeria since 2012 during addition as the minister, value chain is what we must do to bring food to our people. What we produce and we add value to it to improve nutrition and fooding. Now, the problem we have with our value chain is the word value chain is an industrial term. You can't do value chain after you have done input, you have gone for cultivation, you have gone into harvesting, you have gone into processing, into marketing, storage, and even the eatery. All this must be driven by energy. And I'm happy that the federal government in the now has unbundled the mystery about our power. That's why we're talking about mini grid now. Private sector can come in, state can go, without depending all on one on power, So if you can get our power sector right, and that will help us to reduce post-harvest losses, because we're going to process it, we'll go to value addition, we're going to export, and it will be fine for all of us. Lastly, let me say this, that the issue of food has no political party. And so we cannot pay lip service to agriculture. The matter of food is a matter that has no sympathies for party. You are hungry, you're hungry. So I want to suggest that now that the local government have now been opened up to direct funding and they have money, we should insist that this money should be used rightly. Agriculture in Nigeria is not as badly funded as you think. It is because the appropriated money is not trickling down to where the things are supposed to happen. That is my view about it. So, and I'm happy the presidency has an office now that is tracking where people can be monitored, following the money. What are the milestones? The money given to you, where is it? So we need to follow the money that's allocated to agriculture. Does it go to the field, to the actors, or it disappears? So we need to handle that. And having said that, we must prioritize. We must give priority to sections of the country. If you come to Kaduna State, where I am based, this is the home of maize. It should become a maize belt. All that is needed, Nigerian about maize should be happening in Kaduna State. If you want to do it, go to the southeast. And so we cannot be doing all things, everything goes. And I want to say that we must pay attention, like Professor Shaributu said. You can't do agriculture without capital. And so we must have access to credit. Our Agric bank, Bank of Agric, is just their name. The farmers have, I know their interest is not less than 25%. I was in Egypt, the interest is single digit. So our farmers will have access. So like he said, Akaboras was money given to political affiliates that did not impact anything in the country. So we must rate our youth, because they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they have the expertise into the field. And if you leave agriculture in the hands of the old hands, and people have to do it, to be very difficult to go forward.
Thanks, Professor Ikani. You know, I had an interaction with you sometime, and you said we do not have a Minister of Agriculture. What we have is a Ministry of Farming, you know. But you have also complained about the actors on the field. You're talking about the youths. You're talking about changing the actors on the field. How do we change the actors on the field? Because, I mean, how are we going to change those who are there right now and bring in people who you say should be scientific, you know, in knowledge, you know, should have scientific knowledge, you know, to be able to deal with the business of agriculture?
Agriculture, let it be an entrepreneurship thing. Let it be a business thing. Let it not be producing to eat. And that concept was given to us 2012. The concept of value chain, the concept of agriculture as a business. If you run it as a business, there's no way you can do cutlass and hoes. It means you have to bring in machineries. I mean, not just because you want machinery, you go to Australia, you go to Europe and bring everything that are not useful on the land. Let's go income. You just mentioned income to you in Ilorin. They have so many labor-saving devices on their shelf. Let's begin to, Innoson is producing truck for the military, is producing truck for road safety. Why can't our ministry link income to private sectors to upscale, to scale up what they have as protocol on their shelf, and they begin to bring power so that we remove cutlass and hose? Then why can't we now register more serious companies to go into the system? Why can't we go into dry season farming when we have so many rivers? In Egypt, it's only River Nile. And they're doing great things. They're even doing an artificial river now. So why can't Nigeria go? And let me tell you, the issues we have, the question you ask about why are we hungry. You remember there was a flood 2022. Nigeria lost about 700 billion to that flooding. And it's because we did not pay attention to putting a dam on River Benue to back up the Lago Dam in Cameroon. What does it take? The 700 billion that was lost 2022 can be the dam in River Benue to checkmate the flooding. And so many other things we need to do that are priorities. So we must pay attention to agriculture and fix it.
All right, Professor Emmanuel, thank you very much. We must pay attention to agriculture and fix it. But just before we round off this conversation, I'd like to get to Professor Shaributu again. Now, the goal is food security. Now, climate change is affecting agriculture worldwide. How can extension services help farmers adapt, you know, to climate-related challenges?
Well, thank you very much. Just like I said, knowledge is continuous. You don't just receive a certificate and it ends there. As a journalist, you go to School of Journalism to improve your skills.
Not in all cases.
Yeah, but you go to School of Journalism to improve your skills. You go to universities to improve your skills. It's the same thing with agriculture. You see, the colleges of agriculture were actually incubated for the purpose of skill acquisition, vocational skill acquisition. If you go to MBTE now, that is what they are beginning to encourage, because once you do not have the skills in your hands, there's practically nothing you can do. And this knowledge continues to improve. And new methods keep on coming. And if you do not upgrade your own knowledge, there is no information you're going to pass out there. Good enough you have a first degree, good enough you have a master's, good enough you have a PhD. But there are things that come in between one knowledge or one certificate or the other. And that is why you need to improve on these skills. Now, the picture that is being painted, you know, at the level of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is not what you used to obtain. We really need to come, and that is what brought about the National Electronic Extension Program, in order to have all the programs embedded in that place, so that people will begin to access information. You access information about inputs, even on your handset, on the social media. So there is a lot of effort that is being put in place. The cooperative system is being modernized for people to actually come together, establish farms together. The effort that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is putting as far as cooperative is concerned now is there. And that is all about information. Climate change, yes. Climate smart agriculture, yes. These are all information that must be made available to the farmers. And the only way you can make this information available to the farmers is when there is a policy that addresses that. And that's the more reason why we started from the Agricultural Transformation Agenda. From there, we came to the APP and then the NATIP. These are all procedures that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is putting in place in order to have this. Now, one of the deliverables of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is the issue of collaboration with the state government, with the federal government. How I hope that we look at Mr. President's agenda number 4 that has to do with agricultural technology and innovation development. It has to do with adoption of agriculture. These are the real issues that are being put in place so that there is a reflection on the various agricultural research institutes that whatever we are going out to develop now, we are going to develop them based on the needs and the demand. And like I said, those that give us this information are from National Agricultural Extension and Research and License Services. Every 6 months, after 6 months, they get together, assemble all this information, and make them available.
All right. Many thanks, Professor Garba Hamidou Sheributu. Because of time, we have to leave the conversation at this point. But, I mean, it's clear that this conversation needs to continue. And, of course, the needful must be done. I would have loved to hear the final thoughts from Professor Yahya, but I'm being told that we do not have time. So many thanks, Professor Garba Hamidou Sheributu, the Executive Secretary, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. It was a pleasure to have you. And, of course, looking forward to more engagement with you. Professor Mohammed Kuta Yahya, Professor of Agriculture and Rural Development, University of Ibadan, and Secretary, Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms. Many thanks, Prof, for joining us. And, of course, we look forward to, having you some other time. Professor Ikani Ike Emmanuel, the immediate past Executive Director of NELS, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Many thanks, Prof. Of course, good to see you again, and we appreciate your insights on the program. All right, so we round up the conversation with the professors on agricultural extension. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about engineering. Stay with us.
All right, thank you very much for rejoining us. World Engineering Day 2025 comes with a powerful theme, shaping our sustainable future through engineering. Well, it's a reminder that engineering isn't just about building bridges and skyscrapers. It's also about solving global challenges and helping us achieve the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Exactly, Victor. Now, this year's celebration focuses on unleashing the power of engineers to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. From clean energy to climate action, infrastructure to innovation, engineers are at the heart of it all, turning ideas into reality and driving solutions for a better future.
All right, and joining us for this conversation that is on 2025 World Engineering Day is engineer Ali Alimasiya Rabiu, Deputy President of the Nigeria Society of Engineers and immediate past President of Koren. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and also seated with us right here in the studio is engineer Valerie Agberagba, the former Vice President of Nigeria Society of Engineers, also the former Vice President, World Federation of Engineering Organizations. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, let's begin, and I'd like to start with Engineer Lee. Now, the theme for World Engineering Day 2025 is shaping our sustainable future through engineering. How does engineering contribute to achieving sustainable goals, for instance?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start by saying how the World Engineering Day evolved. In 2019, the UNESCO approved that we should celebrate the World Engineering Day. And March 4th of every year was chosen for this celebration. And the whole idea is to recognize and celebrate what engineering and engineers do for a more sustainable world. Now, coming to your question on how engineering can inspire, is that what you sorry, can I get the question again?
Well, I asked how engineering contributes to achieving sustainable
Okay, thank you very much. You know,
sustainability
there are
goals?
17 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and every one of them has to do with engineering. Are you talking about water supply? Is it about agriculture and climate change mitigation? Are you talking about even gender disparities? All these have to do with engineering. And in Nigeria, for instance, we have engineers in Nigeria have done well, you know, to contribute towards, you know, achieving some of these goals. When you look at provision of infrastructure, engineers play a very important role in this country towards the provision of sustainable infrastructure. Then, of course, we also play a very important role in providing energy solutions, clean energy, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, when you come to gender disparity, the Nigerian engineers have played a very important role. You know, recently to ensure that the gender-based stereotypes are stopped. Very recently, we elected a lady president after over 66 years of existence. So all these are part of the contributions that we have made, you know, in achieving the SDGs.
All right, thank you for your response, Engineer Rabiu. But it is clear that the engineers in Nigeria are not, you know, delivering optimally. Because, I mean, we have challenges in every sector, whether it's power. We just finished talking about agriculture. I mean, engineers play a key role in that. Whether it's water that you have talked about. I mean, we're lagging behind in so many ways, you know, as far as engineering is concerned. Can you tell us some of the challenges, you know, that there is in this profession?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will only ask to differ from that statement that engineers are lagging behind in providing solutions, because I think we've done the best we could in being at the forefront of infrastructural development. One thing you must know is that you might have the know-how, but giving you the will and the opportunity to show what you have is also a very major issue. Nigerians do excellently well when they are outside these shores. And most of them were trained in Nigeria. I was trained in Nigeria. And given an opportunity, I know I've been able to put in my best in the job I'm doing. And the same thing goes for all engineers. Yes, we do have challenges to be able to bring our best to the fore. And one of the major challenges is government giving us the will and opportunity to showcase that which we know. Local content in every sphere of engineering must come to play. We thank the government of Nigeria for executive orders that have come out to position engineers to have opportunities to be able to participate in some of the jobs being given out. But a lot still needs to be done. Our jobs must be given to the Nigerian engineer. We must prove that, yes, we can do it. Let's make our mistakes. Egypt did it. Let's make our mistakes. Let's build our nation. Nobody can build Nigeria better than the Nigerians. So allow the Nigerian engineer to be at their best. Give them opportunities, challenge them, and they will do that. Also financing, reaching available finances to be able to have big companies that can meet up with some of these big jobs that impact on observations that you can say, oh, Nigerian engineers are doing it. The finances also has to be there. There has to be room for people to access finance to do some job. I heard the Agric man talking about people don't have access to money to do those Agric extension work. When you have a loan interest rate of 25%, how do you want to manage as a Nigerian to go take a loan and want to do mechanization of agricultural processes and all? So a lot of challenges face the Nigerian engineers, but we know that with time we are trying to overcome each one as the day comes by, because we are quite resilient and we know that we can do it.
So you don't think it's an issue of capacity when it has to do with, you know, sourcing, if you like, engineers, equipment, or whatever it is from outside the country? It's not like Nigerian engineers do not have the capacity to deliver on those jobs, no. Or you think it's just a mindset kind of thing?
No, it is not a case of capacity, I can tell you. Nigerian engineers are well trained. Yes, we might say we have issues with the educational system, but a lot is in place. Just like my DP said, the Nigerian Society of Engineers is very interested in capacity building. So it's something we do. Professional development is a continuous thing. So every engineer needs to go through that. Koren is also ensuring that Nigerians are built in their capacity to be able to give optimally in whatever they are doing. So for me, it is not a case of capacity. It is a case of opportunities to prove that, yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much, Engineer Agberagbe. Let me get back to Engineer Rabiu. Now that we are here, of course, engineers are seen as solution providers. And I'd like to hear from you what engineering challenges or what challenges you think face Nigeria today that require urgent engineering intervention. If you like, I can chip in climate change if engineers can provide solution here.
Well, engineers have done well to, provide solutions that can mitigate some of these problems, like the climate change you talked about. Only last year we had a conference that had to do with agriculture and climate change. And in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and we made recommendations after the conference to the government on what they can do, to mitigate the issues of climate change. And there are many others that we do. Like she said, we strengthen capacities of our members. And one of the ways to do that is to do continuous training that we do.
Outside training, are there remarkable breakthroughs by Nigerian engineers?
Oh, there are many. If you go to the LNG, for instance, the liquefied natural gas in Boni, from train 1 to train 7, all these are done by engineers. They have constructed these trains 100% indigenous, through 100% indigenous capacities.
Sure.
And so many more. But unfortunately, I'm glad that in your introductory remarks, you said engineering was not just about building bridges and houses. But in Nigeria, we always think that engineering is just about building roads, bridges, and houses. That's not the case. We are doing a lot of engineering in so many sectors. In the oil and gas, like I said, in the LNG, even in the power sector where she works, almost all the power stations that we have in the country today, about 7 or 8 of them, were built by Nigerian engineers. I know that the power station in Geregu in Kogi State was built by one of my brothers, was the project manager on that project, and many of the delivered.
Fantastic. Valerie, Engineer Valerie Agbaregba, why a lot of people would want to question the capacity of engineers in Nigeria. He says, oh, well, yeah, we have agreed that it's not about building roads, houses, and all that. But we can see that when it comes to those basic infrastructure, we still have a lot of gaps. We still hear of building collapses on a daily basis. We still have roads that are constructed and in 6 months they are bad. And then you ask yourself, what exactly is going on, in the engineering sector? Why do we still have these problems?
I knew we'll get to building collapse because no discussion goes on without building collapse. But I can assure you that most of the building collapses that we've had in Nigeria, they were not because of engineering capacity failure. When he was president of Koren, there was a major disaster in Lagos, and they set up a committee to investigate with the Lagos state government and all. And it wasn't an engineering capacity failure. It was a failure of materials and poor utilization of engineers, adequately qualified engineers. I think one of the professions that is most abused in Nigeria is engineering, because it's a field that people think there is a lot to gain from it. So you see people supervising big engineering infrastructure when they are not qualified. When I say qualified, they are not current registered engineers. One thing I will tell you, qualification of engineers is not that you graduated from a university. It is that you have been certified by current to practice engineering in Nigeria. So one of the things, all the collapses, the few engineers that were found culpable were punished by current. And they were not culpable because they did not have the capacity. It was because they didn't allow themselves to be used, or their names to be used when they were not involved, and their licenses were seized. So we don't take lightly when we have engineering incapacity in any place.
When you talk about Quran, I'd like to be corrected. Does it go beyond to become Quran certified, for instance? Does it go beyond sitting at a conference, for instance, paying the fees and getting at the point of becoming certified?
It has nothing to do with sitting at a conference. Your conference has nothing to do with it. It is 4 years of pupillage training. And that 4 years, you must have a record you are keeping of what you're learning. And at the end, you submit a report, you take exams. They take exams, both written and oral and computer assessment. So it's a rigorous process to become current certified. All right. It has nothing to do with conference.
All right. Deputy President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the immediate past President of current should be in a better position to tell us if our faculties of engineering across the country are still. She says she was trained here, and she says, well, the training is perfect. Would you say today, the Faculty of Engineering that we have across the country in different universities are still delivering, in terms of quality?
Well, from time to time, Korean visits the universities to look at their programs. After every 5 years, in order to certify whether the programs are still okay, or to identify areas of improvement. And so, so far, I want to believe that the faculties are okay and they're delivering what they are supposed to be delivering. The faculties of engineering across the Nigerian universities can be said to be okay.
All right. Now that we've talked a lot about the capacity of Nigerian engineers and engineering and all of that, why do you think that some, very serious organizations go out of the country to bring in expatriates?
Well, I don't believe that serious organizations that you're talking about go to bring expatriates. Rather, I would say that some people in government prefer to work with expatriates for whatever reason.
Even
but
in the private sector?
Well, in the private sector, I can't really point at anyone that has gone to, bring in foreign engineers to carry out its activities. But as for government, I would say yes, they do. For whatever reason, I don't know. But like she said, we continue to advocate to government to patronize our Nigerian professionals, because whatever the foreign engineer can give, we also can give here if we are given the enabling environment.
All right. Because of time, we need to round up the conversation. Of course, as a woman, of course, we celebrate Madam Oguntala. That's the NSC president.
Yes,
fantastic woman doing really good in the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And of course, you're seated here, another powerful engineer. But how can we develop more women and girls? Or rather, how can we encourage more women and girls, to go into engineering, or if you like, STEM?
STEM,
like
or STEAM. It's been enlarged in so many areas,
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much. NSC has been doing quite a lot, and in NSC we have a division, Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria, who also is doing a lot in bringing in girls into the STEM education. And we do a lot on exposing them to what engineering is all about, and which is one of the reasons why we're having this World Engineering Day, for people to understand what engineering is all about. The public should see that engineering is actually the solution to most of our problems. So we bring that to the girl child. We don't, before we're starting at the secondary level, but we realize that by then they have a mindset. So now we start from the very low level, primary level, letting them know that science, engineering is all around them from the time they wake up to do things. So we have programs, we have competitions, we have boot camps. So a lot is being done. NSC on its own, outside having a division for women engineers, also has a committee for women in engineering. And I happened to have represented Nigeria in the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and I chaired the Women in Engineering Committee. And we actually went out to do a research in Africa why girls don't study STEM. And we have realized that, just like I said, we need to start from the scratch, and we also need to do massive education of the public that engineering is for girls.
Okay.
In short, if you look at what engineering is all about, we boastfully say engineering is a woman because it's about creation.
You can say
it's
that
about
again.
problem solving. It's about providing adequate environment for things to progress. So that's all that God has given to women.
You know,
so I get very emotional when you say things about women and engineering.
We're in the same spirit.
Thank you very much.
This morning I ended this prayer review by saying, when you want something said, ask a man. When you want something done, ask a woman.
I totally agree with
and of course, you just corroborated that fact.
We won't go into an argument.
You can't even go into an argument. I mean, there's no time for that.
I can assure you of that.
No, but it looks like you're celebrating the World Engineering Day. Do you have activities or something you want us to know?
Oh, yes, we have activities across Nigeria. We have 86 branches, and all the branches are having a program. Some are having public lectures, some are having competitions, some have gone to the radio for public awareness, so that actually places where they know, states where they know that people really don't know much of what engineers are doing. We need to showcase engineers in Nigeria and what they have done, because when it comes to every sector, sustainable solutions, engineers are there to give it. So we're having diverse program to tell people that, yes, we can solve the Nigerian problem. Just give us opportunity, allow the engineers to do what they can do. Know that there is no sustainable solution you can have with the SDGs without the input of the engineers. So there's a lot of public awareness going on, and we're happy to be here celebrating it with you. And we know that the main program will be coming up on the 16th, but all the branches across today are celebrating, and then we come back together to have the national program.
All right. Thank you, Engineer Valerie. Let me get back to Engineer Rabiu. How, if you want to nurture an engineer, what signs, what obvious signs should one look out for as a parent, for instance, to say, oh, this child will be good in engineering? Are there obvious signs to look out for, or you just find a way to nurture the child from scratch? And what should those be?
Well, it could be both ways. You could see some signs of the child doing some hands-on, things at home. Then, of course, you know that this is a potential engineer. Again, like my own self, I wasn't too good in skills growing up, but I, conditioned myself that I wanted to read engineering. In fact, the other day we had this Old Boys Association meeting at my school in Lafia. I went to Government College Makurdi. And so when we were discussing with my colleagues, I told them that I was in the science class, and I was not a very good student in the science class. But I had to condition myself that I was going to read engineering, and I learned it by force. So that also...
And it's been fantastic?
It's been fantastic. I have been everything an engineer wants to be in Nigeria. President of Korea, president-elect of NSC, I'm a consultant.
Isn't that a politician, a political engineer? Anyways, Valerie,
Yes, please.
For every field, a woman in every field, there are challenges. As a journalist, being a woman, there are challenges, really. Share with us what has been some of the challenges for you as a female engineer.
Fortunately, I didn't have too many, because I had engineers that understood, and then I'm an advocate for women in engineering, so I couldn't be pressed down where I worked. But the fact is that sometimes there are jobs that you really know you can excel, and they look at the feminine side of you and say, no, you can't do this. I mean, when I was trained in school, we all went to the same laboratory, did the same exam. Nobody saw me as a woman. Now to do the work, you think, oh, she's too feminine, or you're too this. We don't want you to mess up your hand and blah, blah. So that was an issue. People not giving you the jobs that you would love to do and excel and prove yourself. And sometimes you realize that, yes, I want to do this. I really want to get there. But at point in time, all they are looking for is that you are a woman, so you don't get that opportunity to move higher. It's a challenge. People get, okay, I'll give you an example. People get to be project managers as we're growing up, to supervise big infrastructure. But sometimes because you are a woman, they think, oh, your husband will call you when you are there, so you will not be able to
or
do
you're
it.
pregnant.
Or you're pregnant. You know, that was also an issue. The time of family, your family time was seen as a weakness for engineering. And those were just so very, very wrong. It was in my later stage I started having great opportunities as an engineer. And that because I am an advocate for women in engineering. I'm actually a past president of Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria. So I fight for myself. I'm not fighting in the sense of physical, but I tell you I can do it. Give me that opportunity, and I prove myself. Okay. Laziness was not a thing for me.
I won't let you go without asking this question, and it's good that you work in the energy sector.
Yeah.
Now, energy is a major issue, obviously, in Nigeria. So how can engineering solutions improve access to reliable and affordable electricity?
Okay, thank you. Most of what we've had in Nigeria has been the gas-fired plants, and then we have a little bit of hydro. And right now, the major solution to our energy access is renewable. Building transmission infrastructure is a very massive and highly financially intensive, right? So now with the renewable energy coming in, and now looking also at climate change and how it affects, there is no better time to deploy renewable energy to places outside our grid. Energy access can only be by renewable energy right now, because so many of our communities are so far beyond the grid, and we don't want them to leave them in darkness. So I am a proponent of renewable energy. To go down to those rural areas, let them have access to electricity. And you know also this will affect even the agriculture when you deploy renewable for irrigation and other things. So renewable energy for me
is the way to go.
Is a way to go.
All right, 2025 World Engineering Day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We hope that you give us venue and time of the celebration. We want to eat cake too. Engineers don't eat cake?
We do. I love cake and ice cream. We add that too, yeah.
Fantastic.
So add cake engineering to your
portfolio. Oh yes, I love it.
All right.
Like I said, all the branches are celebrating now, and we'll be having the national one where you will see President Margaret Oguntala being around. I'm sure at that time we'll be cutting the huge World Engineering cake, and of course with a cup of ice cream for you.
All right.
You'll be invited. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to remember that. Valerie Agberagba, former Vice President of Nigeria Society of Engineers, former Vice President, World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and of course a powerful female engineer. Many thanks for joining us, and we do appreciate you. Of course, many thanks, Engineer Ali Masuya Rabiu, Deputy President of Nigeria Society of Engineers and immediate past president of Korean. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So that's our package on this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We urge you to join us again tomorrow for another interesting episode. I'm Victor Azo.
I'm Yanri. John hasn't changed. The station is NTA. Live aloft.